Hello, Ed.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, dude.
Sweet. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great, man. We just got done blasting Soul Breaker, man. So fucking badass, dude. I love it, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was listening into the show and having a good time chatting with the folks in the chat room, and, I love it, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was loving it so much. I went onto the Bandcamp. I was sharing it into the chat room, and then when I was there at the Bandcamp page, I was looking. I was like, I do have the digital version, but it says there's only 16 copies left of the CD. I'm going to make it 15, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we only had a certain amount, that we have over here in the States from our label over in Germany. So we usually try to sell what we've got over here to the U.S. audience, and shipping is crazy internationally. But yeah, we're down to, I guess, 15, if that's what it says.
Now you are.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Hopefully it'll go down even more throughout the show. But yeah, man, what a crazy ride you guys have been on, dude. Like, what the fuck? This is nuts.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. It is. It's not anything any of us expected, especially after 30 years of having set it aside and, gotten on with life.
Oh yeah, man. Tell us, I know the documentary pretty much explains everything, but can you give us give us your rundown of how things happen? Like how did it start, and then how did it stop, and then how did it come back?
Yeah, so Siren was formed in 1981 here in Brandon, Florida, and it was just a bunch of us guys getting together, all loved metal, the new wave of British heavy metal bands, as well as, some older bands like UFO and that kind of thing, but we just loved the music. So Siren, again, was founded in 81, and we did the usual, started working up mostly covers at the time, and, eventually got into playing the local clubs. And back then, in the day, there was just music everywhere. There were so many clubs. You could go virtually every night of the week and listen to metal, all over in the different clubs. Some originals, a lot of people doing covers. It wasn't until 1984 when we did our first recording, and that was for the 7-inch vinyl single Metro Mercenary. And we had wanted to come out of the gate a little different at the time and try to, be a little different. So rather than coming out with a cassette, which was the norm at the time, we decided to go all in and pool what little money we had and did the 7-inch single Metro Mercenary, which we were very proud of, obviously, and started the promotion back in the day, working with some of our Brandon metal brothers here, Nasty Savage. You probably heard of them.
Yeah,
because Brandon back at the time was just, it was incredible. Just the music scene here with bands like, Nasty Savage, Savatage, bands that eventually started coming up at the same time, Executioner, which became Obituary, just so much going on. And Nasty Ronnie, a good friend to this day, had given me his list of all the contacts for the fanzines and magazines and radio stations back at the time, and started just slinging out those 7-inch discs all over the world, and got some good response. So we were very encouraged by the response we got from the single, and just kind of kept the ball rolling. And in '85 we did a follow-up demo called Iron Coffins, 4 songs, and again, kept the promotion up through the fanzines and stuff, with the ultimate goal, trying to land some kind of deal. 85, the end of 85, went to the studio one more time and recorded a demo called Dead of Night, which eventually did get the band a deal in 1986 over in Germany, which produced the record No Place Like Home in late 1986. And then just kind of rolled and, kept going and promoted and played and, did what every band did back then and tried to make it work and make the dream come true. Eventually another album was done in '88, which was Financial Suicide. And then by 89, it was just one of those things where, it wasn't happening. And it was kind of like, all right, we kind of need to move on. And that's what happened. I mean, life came along, obligations change, responsibilities change, and, we all kind of set it aside. So that was pretty much around by 1990, Siren was on indefinite hiatus, after those couple of albums, and that's where it lay until 2015, late 2015, early 2016. It was actually December, I think, of 2015, when just out of the blue, I got a number of messages on Facebook directly to me, because I'm the only Ed Aborn on Facebook, so I was easy to find. And they were all asking the same thing. They were saying, hey, are you Ed Aborn, the drummer of Siren? And I was like, yeah, that was me. And and these came from different countries. I mean, South America, Germany, Russia. It was crazy. And they were all asking the same thing. It's like, oh, wow, well, I'm a really big fan. And do you have any of the original music or merchandise? Or, can you tell me about this? And what happened with this? So, I had spent the past 25 years at that point being a software engineer, so I'm an IT nerd, and I can type really fast. So I was like, you know what? Instead of answering all these people individually, what I'm going to do is just, for my own, fun, is just type out all my, my memories of the band, of how it started and the different things we went through, and just knock that out. So I did that over a couple of evenings, and by the time, I had finished, I was like, oh shit, I accidentally wrote a book. And because it was like 30 pages of typewritten text. And yeah, so I was like, well, if I've written a book, I might as well make it a book. So what I did was just scanned in all of my own personal photos and and some flyers and magazine interviews and stuff, and formatted that up as a little ebook in PDF format, and then just put it out and send it to I didn't publish it anywhere. I just sent it to the people who were asking questions, and also put it out to my friends and all the people who had been in our circles back in the day. And the only thing that when I was doing that, I was able to get a hold of and get in contact with everybody pretty much that had been in the band through those years, with the exception of our singer, Doug Lee, and he was just off the grid. I just could not find him. I just looked everywhere, tried old phone numbers, everything, and so after I had finished that book and put it out, it was a mutual friend who, through another friend, had gotten a copy of it and said, hey, you know what? I'm still in touch with Doug. Would you like me to pass this on to him? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And here's my number. So he did. And over the next few months, Doug and I ended up speaking again and kind of talking and rekindling that friendship a little bit. And when that happened, there was you can only call him a super fan in Germany, who was one of those people who had reached out. His name is Frank Hernschall, also known as Frank Headbanger. And when he found out, he was like an old school OG Siren fan who he was such an OG fan. He would make, this is in the 80s, he's a teenager, make his own back patches for Siren, because we didn't have any back then, for his vest, and license plate for his car. And this is stuff we never knew, until, back in the day. We didn't know people liked us like that. So, Frank, who is now a very successful businessman, and he and I were in contact, and I said, hey, guess what? Doug and I are, we got in contact and we're catching up, and he's like, ooh, this is good. So he reached out to Oliver Weinsheimer, who is the promoter for the Keep It True Festival in Germany, and who also was a Siren fan. And, Oliver reached out and said, hey, listen, is there any chance of you guys reuniting to come over here and play at Keep It True? And now this is 2017, and I'm like, what? I literally asked him, I said, is anyone going to care? Is anyone going to know who we are? And Oliver said, oh, yes, I assure you, people will. You have a following over here. So we were like, oh shit, that's pretty crazy. So it took a few weeks for us to really talk about things and figure out if this is something we even wanted to try after 30 years of not having been together and not playing as a band, none of us really being in music to any degree regularly. And that's when we kind of pulled some of the original members because we wanted it to be as original of a reunion as possible. And so that's how it started coming together, the whole experience that we went through was, we just couldn't believe that we have a following, and we're going to now try to prepare and, dust the rust off and go back over to Germany, after 30 years and not have the wheels come off the train, somewhere along the way. So that was pretty much, where we had started, where we had gone, and how we got to the point of starting to prepare. And that's when my friend Chris Jericho got involved.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm talking a lot. I don't know if I'll keep going because I can just ramble. If you want me to tell you what happens next, I'll be happy to keep going.
Yeah, no, dude, keep going. Okay, man, keep going.
I just want to give you a chance to stop me. So, all right, so here we are now. We're like, I guess it was about 6 or 8 months out, and we've got the foundation of the band back together, and we've started to work these songs up. And got the band that we had gotten back together was myself, Doug Lee, the singer, Ed Hauser, who was the bass player on the Iron Coffins demo, Hal Dunn, who is a guitarist and original founding member of the band from the very beginning. Hal hadn't appeared on any of the early recordings, but he was, again, a founding member of the band back in 81 and played during that time. He was just in another band called Atomic Opera, and his guitarist companion in Atomic Opera was a man named Todd Grubbs. So we were all in the same musical circle at the time. And when we were getting Siren back together, for our second guitarist, we were like, well, none of the other ones are really, in the area. Rob Phillips, who was the other founding member of the band back in 81, is down in South Florida, so it wasn't really, realistic for him to be, a part of things. And he was also working on something else at the time. And the other guitarist, who was in the Dead of Night demo, was out in California. So we're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get Todd in, because Todd was, around back in the day and just in a different band. And it was like, I played in Atomic Opera a little bit, and it's one of those things where it was like, okay, he's family. Let's bring him in. And he's also the only one who has been a professional musician for the entire time. He, besides playing and recording, he has his own music school, and just a great guy and amazingly talented. So that was the band that we had reassembled. And we were getting, working these songs up. And that's when I was speaking to a friend of mine who is, he's the wrestler and actor, and he does everything, Chris Jericho. So I've been friends with Chris for since like 99, and we both live here in the Tampa area. And we were just chatting, and I said, hey man, you're not going to believe this. Do you remember, me mentioning my old band Siren? And he's like, yeah, I think so. I said, you're not going to believe this, but we've been asked to reunite, and be flown over to Germany to perform at this big festival. And he's like, what? He goes, man, that doesn't happen. I'm like, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. And literally he said, listen, man, I don't want to be rude, but is anyone going to care? And I said, dude, that's exactly what I said to the promoter. And he assured us that people will know who we are to some degree. So we chatted about it a little bit. And then, the next day he called me back and said, hey, Ed, listen, man. He goes, I can't stop thinking about this. This just doesn't happen. He goes, whether, this is just a story of triumph, or you guys get on the stage and it's a total train wreck, it's a story I would want to see. So what do you think about if I pay to have a documentary crew come alongside you now while you're getting ready and just follow you through this whole journey, and including, going over to Germany with you and capturing whatever happens, on that stage? And I said, well, either way, we've got to live it. So, that sounds great. If nothing else, we'll have a killer home movie that we can look at, of this whole experience.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. He hired a film crew led by a young man named Nathan Mowry, who is an incredible filmmaker. And he had done their video for their song, the Fozzy song Judas, which is now at like 60 million views or something, and just such a great guy and super talented. So, so we just kind of, we kept going and preparing, and then that's where you pretty much see the film begin. And that's where, we were rolling along. And then, as you see in the film, had a couple roadblocks, a couple unexpected things come along, especially with, our bass player, Ed Hauser, who a couple months, before, about 6 weeks before we were supposed to leave for Germany, ended up he was gonna have to require spinal surgery like 10 days before our show, because of the injuries he had while being a helicopter pilot in the Army, and just so many years of service and hard landings and stuff. His back is really jacked, and it was just, it was unfortunate. And that's where you see just the strangest of coincidences, where our bass player, Greg Culbertson, who the last time I had spoken with him was probably 10 years prior, and I had called him when I was trying to reach all the people in the band. I'd called him several times and just never heard back from him. But it was right then that he happened to call me back after like 10 years. And it was the perfect timing, because it was like we didn't know what we were going to do. And that's what you see, in the film when I go over and speak to Greg. So do you have any questions about, anything so far? I don't know how far deep you want me to get into how things go.
Man, you know what? I just got to say, dude, like that fucking documentary hit me on so many different levels, man. There were so many different things in that film that that just struck to the bone, dude. Like it raised hairs on my arms at certain parts, because like for one, like what you're talking about, I mean, I'm a musician too, man, and I was in a bunch of bands, and like nothing ever really seemed to stick. And then I did a one-man thing, and that kind of got me on the internet, and it did give me some exposure, which led me to the radio thing. But I kind of put that all on hold when I became family, became a dad, and like, life happens, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to put that on hold, do the radio thing in my spare time, and this and that. And then here recently, we did a festival here in Tennessee, and we just had a bunch of underground bands show up, and I didn't know if anybody was going to show up, man. 1,200 fucking people showed up.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was insane, dude. All the support for a bunch of bands that nobody had really ever heard of. And when I walked out there and looked at the field and all those people, I was feeling some of those feelings, like what you guys were talking about in the documentary, and I kind of I definitely related to that. I was like, man, and that's a big reason why I fucking reached out to you right after that, because I was like, man, I gotta fucking talk to these guys, man. This is just amazing. Like, I feel it. I totally understand what they're talking about. I mean, I know it's different, but sort of the same, like, kind of just that feeling, like.
Oh, absolutely, man. it's like I say when people ask me about the movie, it's not a movie about Siren, because, no one needs a movie about Siren. We're just a metal band that did our thing back in the day, and then that was it. But what it's about is really, it's what happens when a dream sneaks up on you. What happens when you've set something aside so long ago that you don't even know it's in you anymore. And then it kind of comes up and taps you on the shoulder. And how do you react? And that's exactly, what happened to us. Was just, we had the chance to live that dream, even if it's for a moment, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's as sweet. So like you said, man, having that moment, looking out over that field of people for you, I can absolutely understand how it was the same thing for me to look out, over that festival and see thousands of people literally singing words that I had written, in high school social studies class back to me, and just thinking, wow, this is real. This is actually happening. The 18-year-old me had this dream, and the 4-year-old me is living it now, for this moment. And it's cool, man. And like I said, no matter how long it takes, and sometimes even when it's unexpected, it's an amazing experience. And you should never, if you love something, then, go for it. Don't let it go.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Yeah. And another thing, like recently we've got some people reaching out to us that are wanting to do a documentary about this thing that we're doing too. And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, man. We might as well, why not? I mean, whatever you can do to get it out there and let the people know. But like that film was really good, man. Like that is up there in my list of documentaries. Like, I just watched the Dio one not long ago, and the one about Pentagram and so many others. I mean, I'm a junkie about stuff like that. Like I love music documentaries and different things like that. Just getting to see inside the lives of the people that you listen to, to see what it's like on the other side. Because it's always, I don't know. I feel like it makes you appreciate the music in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I love documentaries, of all kinds, music, paranormal, all kinds of shit. I like it all. I love to learn. So, you'll definitely catch me more likely watching something along those lines, than anything. Because like I said, man, life is about growth. You got to keep going.
Man, and Keep It True is so badass. I got to ask, man, what was it like getting out there on that stage and just, I mean, I know we've seen the one song that you guys play in the documentary, and of course that's on the Bandcamp too. It's a badass fucking song too, man, that you guys recorded. Love it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, the experience was just, I mean, it was incredible. It really was, and I'm so grateful to Nathan, who captured it so well, while we were there, because he really did get the spirit of what, it's amazing, man, just what a metal festival is like in Germany. I know we talked about it and kind of joked about it a little bit, but it's literally like being, going into a time machine, because it felt exactly like Brandon did back in, 1984, 85, just people so into the music and just living it and enjoying it and having a great time. And even though there's a lot of partying going on, everyone's just a big metal family, just having a great time. It's not, it wasn't anything, violent or anything like that, man. Just people just digging it. And I'll tell you, by the time we finally got up there, on the stage, as I was preparing and working my own parts up, and that sounded weird, not working those parts up, but as I was working on my drums, I had really tried to picture, one, to take the edge off, when it actually happened, what it would be like to be in front of thousands of people, because I'm a software engineer. I'm not normally sitting in front of thousands of people, playing music. So I tried to picture, what is this going to be like? And then I made a mental note. I really told myself, I said, listen, man, when this is going on, do not let it go by in a blur. Don't let it just be something like, sometimes if you got to get up and do public speaking, where you almost get into this whole disembodied thing where you feel like someone else is talking and you're listening to your own voice. It's like, experience this and realize and take a moment to stop and tell yourself that this is really happening and it's cool. And that's exactly, I know what it was for me is, I can tell you, exactly the moment we were playing a song called Dead of Night, which was, the title track off that demo, which I had written, the lyrics for back in the day. And I just remember playing that song and looking out and people are shouting Dead of Night, and I'm just thinking, dude, this is really, this is going on. This is not, you're not hallucinating. This isn't a dream. You're sitting here doing exactly what you had dreamed about doing, 30 years ago. And it's cool and it's real. And the whole weekend was like that for us. Cause we did a full set. And the people were so receptive, and just to hear the crowd chanting Siren, after our songs and just everything, it was overwhelming. Or like, sitting there, during our autograph session, for an hour, where, just nonstop parade of people coming by and, and signing things and telling us how they've just been a big fan for decades, and it's like, if you remember that moment in the film, it was at a pre-party for the festival, and, there was a man, his name is, Stefan Bernard, and, he and I were talking, and he was so excited about us being there. He was just, overwhelmed. He was like, on the verge of crying, because he said he was just so excited. He felt like a child on Christmas morning, because it was his dream to see us. And us being there, was his dream coming true. And literally, I said, your dream is my dream coming true, because, this is how cool this whole experience. And it was just something, that we'll never forget. And some of the other stuff, it's amazing. I've used the analogy of playing at the festival was kind of like, the cake. And then, there have been so many other things that have happened along the way that are like the icing on the cake, and then a cherry on the icing. It's like our fucking cake is just topped with 100 cherries now, because so many cool things went on. Like on the run up to the festival, as we got confirmed for the festival, we had labels reaching out and saying, hey, we would like to do an anthology package of your early materials and, your first album. And we're like, really? Okay. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So like, by the time we got to the festival, those packages were made. There's an amazing double CD package called Up From the Depths, Early Anthology and More. And the vinyl package that was Up From the Depths was from Stormspell Records, and then Underground Power Records did just an insane vinyl package that was a triple LP set with a replica of our debut single, the Mercenary single. And it's just crazy. It's just such an amazing set. And then to see that those items just sell out at the festival across the board, was just amazing. And while we were doing that, while we were putting that package together, we also, besides pulling together the demos and, the early releases, we pulled together a number of other, never before heard things that had never been released, as well as we're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and record a few new things. just to show that, like they say in Monty Python, we're not dead yet. And that's what we did. We ended up re-recording The Dead of Night, the title track of that demo, because it had never been released on one of our earlier records. And then a couple other songs like Tornado of Blood and Anastasia, and just had a great time with it. And that's why after we had done that, by the time we had done the festival and gone back to to regular life, we're like, you know what? Why we've spent the past 8 months, to a year now preparing for this. We're having fun. We've recorded. Let's keep going. Let's just have fun with it. That's what it's all about these days. Let's go ahead and record some more new music. Let's do a full album. And that's what it's about. It's not about fame. It's not about fortune. For us, there's no dreams of those things. It's all just about doing it because we still can. And if anyone listens and likes it, then even better. That's that's the cherry, the cherry on an already covered cake.
Well, man, this new album is badass, and I just got to say, man, like you totally fucked me up too that day whenever I emailed you and was reaching out about doing an interview because of the documentary, and you were like, "Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about PR," and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
But say, man, I will give you total props for your persistence in email marketing, and it was like, because it was good. I was like, okay, well, I know we want to do something, but we're putting this album together now. We're recording it. We're mixing it. It's like, I'm not ready to reach out. So it was wild, man. When you actually reached out, I was like, well, shit, there's my sign. I'm going to go ahead and, get these wheels turning too. So yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah, I immediately ran downstairs and was telling my wife, I'm like, hey, you'll never believe what just happened. She's like, what? I'm like, fuck. I was like, yeah, that was fucking cool though, man. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I was thinking to myself, man, these guys don't even really need it, man. But sure, I'd be more than happy to help. And,
no, I mean, like I said, we've always been a very, DIY type of band. We've never been on a label that's had any kind of big budget. We've never really had any kind of budget, and especially in these recent, with these new recordings and stuff, it's a labor of love. We pay for it. We record, things pretty much here in my studio. The guys, our guitarists and everything have their own recording rigs, but then I pull everything together, I record Doug's vocals over here at my place, and then, get those initial mixes done, and then go for it. So it's like, we do it, everything from the graphic design to, everything. So it's on us. And, we would like people to hear this. And that's absolutely why, after looking at, the things that you do and the services that you offer, it's like, this guy looks like he's got it together, and it'll be awesome. And I'll tell you, man, so far we've been thrilled. Thank you very much for working with us and helping to get the word out about the movie and the new album, because we're really trying to push the movie is licensed in the States and Canada through Gravitas Ventures. So, and because we don't own the movie, that's owned by Chris Jericho. And, so he licensed the movie through Gravitas, and they've handled the distribution of it in the States and Canada. So it's been on, all the major platforms for rent, or to buy, or Blu-ray or DVD. And only recently, a month and a half ago or whatever, is when they made it available to watch for free on YouTube, which is awesome. But it hasn't been available in internationally, since then. So only recently have we now begun to I was working with Chris and said, hey, can we do this, make it available directly internationally? And so we've done that, and that's what we're trying to push now. But just a real quick aside, one of the things that was really cool was, and again, a lot of times we don't know that this stuff's going on until somebody tells us. It's like, hey, did you know, that it's on YouTube? It's like, what? But we found out that the movie was going to air on cable, on Access TV. And I'm like, really? So it did. And I set my DVR and, and also was like, okay, it's going to be on live, across the nation on cable, on Access TV. And so I actually, made it a point because, I'm old school, is to sit there and I watched the movie while it was playing on TV so I could see the commercials.
Yeah, you got
because the commercials made it real. That's what it's like. I'm on TV. This is real. This isn't, I'm not just streaming this somewhere. So it was funny as I was sitting there watching it on TV. I was just thinking, man, if I could go back, in time and tell the 18-year-old me, it's like, listen, man, I can only be here for a second, but I'm going to tell you something. In 2022, you're going to be sitting in your living room, watching on a big screen, TV, a movie about Siren, on national TV. And I'd be like, oh shit, really? I must be rich and famous. They'd be like, yeah, about that. You might want to have a plan B. Okay, I got to go. So, it's, but it was cool. It was still cool just to have that moment of knowing, that, because, I would never have thought that there'd be, a movie, playing on TV about my old band and this experience. And we got a lot of really good feedback from that, people who watched and found the band. And like you mentioned, since the heart of the movie is really captured there, especially like I call Greg, our bass player, he's like the heart of the movie. He, because he's such a genuinely sweet guy and so childlike. Besides losing him frequently, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's just what you saw is what the real deal. He is just a nice guy, and he really expressed what we were all feeling, in that moment he had, up in the fields above the festival grounds.
Yes.
And, so it was kind of like, that's really what this whole experience has been about for us. And I'm so glad that it was captured because, like I said, that's what, when people watch the movie, it's like, yeah, it's funny to see us bumbling our way around the world and trying to deal with, all these things or losing passports or whatever. And, but really having that moment, on stage and, just the experience is what it's really about because it relates to anyone, man. It doesn't matter what your dream was. It's like if you were a baseball player in school or whatever, and, it's like having the Yankees call you up one day out of the blue and you've been an accountant for 30 years and they're like, hey, we need you to come pitch a game at Yankee Stadium. It's like, it's just so cool to have had that experience. And now we're just, having fun. And like I said, we're just really proud of the music that we make now, and whether or not we make any more, who knows? But, we've had a great time doing what we do and doing things like this, being able to talk to you and other people, or to see interviews in magazines, or, it's just so cool. And we appreciate, every bit of it.
Man, it really is. You know what? It's a beautiful movie. It's an amazing story. And like you said, I mean, it drives it home to anybody out there watching or listening that, just don't give up, man. Like,
exactly.
Keep on getting up and keep trying and keep moving forward. And someday it could happen, like you never know.
Right. And even if it's not, it's not about, the big dream you had, it doesn't matter, man. If your dream was to be a big guitarist or, a vocalist or whatever, it's like, okay, that's cool. The chances are slim that you're going to make a living at it. However, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from picking up that guitar and playing it and enjoying it, or even, doing a little bit of recording, and just do it for the sake of doing it, and that's what it's about, is just doing what you love. And, if other people come along and join in, hey man, all the better if you get, some people to enjoy it with you.
100%, man. 100%. Well, I'm about out of questions for you. Is there anything else you want to let the people know, man?
No, just that, I really appreciate you, having me on, and, we're very responsive to everyone who reaches out, and, we love hearing from people. And you can, about anything, about the music, about the movie, questions, comments, whatever. Just reach out to us. You can find everything about the band, all of our links, and, everything, music, merch, the movie, at sirenband.us. So if you just go to sirenband.us, you will find everything, and you can see what we're up to. And like I said, we'd love to hear from you and anyone who's listening.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us, dude. Before I let you
absolutely,
go,
man.
Can I get you to make us a station tag real quick?
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, you want me to just knock one out for you?
Yeah, whenever you're ready, say something like, "This is Siren, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio."
All right. Let me give me a sec. All right, here we go. Hey, this is Ed Aborn from the band Siren. I don't give a damn what anyone else has to say. You are not too old for this shit. So kick back, crank up the volume, and soak in the sonic savagery with Zach Moonshine right here on Metal Devastation Radio. Hell yeah.
Holy shit, man. That was fucking badass, dude.
Hey, man. No, my pleasure, man. I was listening to all the those great, call outs that that you had at the beginning of this show and stuff. I was like, this is really cool, man. This is really cool. Maybe you'll ask me to do one.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Zach. My pleasure. I look forward to, working with you in the months and years ahead.
Hell yeah, dude. Hopefully, maybe someday we can bring you up to Tennessee, man. It would be cool to see you guys play on the stage, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. All right, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blast some more Siren for these motherfuckers so they can go crazy.
Cool,
right?
Cool. Thank you, man. I'll be listening. Have a great one. Have a good weekend.
We'll talk to you later, brother.
Yep, bye-bye.
There you have it, folks. Siren live on the Zach Moonshine Show with Metal Devastation motherfucking radio. Like I said earlier, put your speakers in your windows, put them in your front lawns, put them in your neighbor's driveway. If you're living in the basement, maybe duct tape your speakers to the ceiling. If you're in the attic, point your speakers at the floor. If you're in the back of an Uber car, or a taxi cab, or a bus, take your fucking earbuds out of your fucking ears and crank your fucking cell phones up. Hopefully that's not the case, though. Hopefully you're listening to it on stereo like we are. But if you're not, whatever you got to do. Point is, grab that volume knob and crank it all the way up. This is Siren right here on Metal Devastation Radio.